Welcome everyone to HogvilleNET Hoops pregame. This is my pregame analysis. Arkansas charity exhibition game, the 14th ranked Razorbacks charity exhibition game number 2, actually at Memphis on the road, the FedEx Forum later tonight. I will be in M-Town. I will be in the Bluff City. I will be there to bring you full coverage, pregame, in-game, and postgame, and we will have a postgame live analysis. Now it's a late tip. 8 p.m. Central Time. It'd be televised on ESPNU, so you don't have to mess with the live stream. And if you've got ESPNU, obviously most people do, you'll be able to see this game live. And that's prime time, right? And it's an exhibition game, so it doesn't count against the record. And you went into the weekend with a big home exhibition win, 89-61 over upset-minded Cincy, a team that had knocked off number 7 Michigan a few days prior. Arkansas gets the 28-point home win to get into the weekend, and then you come on the other side of the weekend, Calipari back in his old stomping grounds. Memphis Tigers, head coach there for 9 years. I think you have to go back 18 seasons before he had that 15-year run at Kentucky. He left Memphis to go to Kentucky. I remember the 9 years Calipari spent in Memphis. There were some early matchups against Arkansas, at least one that I'm aware of. But you also had Calipari coming out of the NBA coaching ranks, head coach with the then New Jersey Nets. Then he left there to get back in the college game. Remember, he started at UMass college game, had great success there, onto the NBA, and then off to Memphis. And he's been in the college game ever since. So if you add those 9 years plus 15 at Kentucky, that's 24 seasons, 25 years when you throw in the last season at Arkansas since the old NBA days. But he's a guy that's back in Memphis with players that he coached there all coming in, kind of converging on the city to have a celebration, a reunion with Calipari, in addition to this exhibition game that goes to the St. Jude's Children's Hospital. That's obviously a charity event. So a lot going on outside of just having that final tune-up opportunity to get yourself ready for the start of the regular season, which is a week away from today. Today's Monday, October 27th. And this a week from today, Monday, November 3rd, Arkansas hosts Southern of the SWAC Southwest Athletic Conference at Bud Walton Arena in Fayetteville in this regular season opener. And then at the end of the week, when you look at Saturday of that first opening week of college basketball, Arkansas is on the road against a ranked Michigan State team. So everything's coming really fast. These tune-ups are important. No, they don't count against your record. They don't necessarily count in terms of what you can take away from it and bank on, because we've seen that with previous Arkansas teams and their success in exhibition play. Now, this is interesting on several levels here, this opportunity for Arkansas. One is it's a first true road test. So you played somebody other than yourself Friday night in that big win against Cincinnati, and you checked a lot of boxes there. Okay, you got through that. Now you go on the road. And Arkansas in exhibition play, playing away from home in recent years, has not done very well. I was there 3 years ago. The 2022-23 team, eventually a Sweet 16 team, went to Texas and got blown out by 30 points. Competitive through the first half, and then the second half it was all Longhorns. And it was, a debacle in terms of exhibition play. And the good thing coming out of that was it doesn't count against your record. And you can learn some things in a situation like that. Last year, Arkansas had the big win at home against number 1 ranked Kansas coming into the season. We know Kansas wasn't quite that good. Still an NCAA tournament team that Arkansas beat again in the tournament, first round. But you had the big win over Kansas. Then you go on the road, or you play in Fort Worth. You didn't play, I don't think, in TCU's on their campus court. But you did play in Fort Worth, which is where the campus is located. And you had a double-digit lead, I think 11, 13 points. You end up losing that game. And it was what we saw play out throughout the season. Arkansas building 10, 11, 12, 15-point lead, and then either holding on for dear life or being overcome and losing games. That was the story last year. And that was the first time you saw it was in that exhibition game, again, on the road, playing TCU in Fort Worth, Texas. So this is another road opportunity for Arkansas against a Memphis team that's got more questions, a lot more questions about the roster build than it has answers. And part of that is zero retention, no returning players from a team last year that dominated the American Athletic Conference, 16-2, finished 29-6, one game away from 30 wins on the season. Penny Hardaway's team not only won its league, finished the season ranked in the top 25, and was an NCAA tournament team. Didn't do very well in the big dance, but doesn't matter. It was a really good team, and then you lost everything. A lot of it, transfers, guys finishing out their eligibility. Memphis returns nobody. I mean, this is basically a team that's been constructed almost, really mostly through the transfer portal. And I'm just going to say this, and I don't know what the results are going to be later tonight, but Arkansas is going to have a lot of questions looking in the mirror if they lose this game, because it's not only you think, okay, portal, you can get a lot of veteran guys, that's true, but this feels like a hodgepodge kind of thrown together roster. I look at it and I'm just wondering, how far Memphis just might fall this season after what the team was able to accomplish last year. Arkansas should win this game tonight. I predict an Arkansas win tonight, although I realize being a true road test, anything can happen. And it's not that Hardaway and Memphis didn't pick up any good players, but I reserve more questions, and we'll see what we see tonight. But Arkansas matches up well with what, at least talent-wise, experience-wise, quality experience. Sometimes experience can be overrated if you got players that have been kind of journeymen. I mean, you've got multiple players on this Memphis team that have had multiple stops in their career. Arkansas has a couple out of the portal that have that as well. Nick Pringle and Malik Ewan. Both of those guys didn't just play at one destination prior coming to Arkansas. In the case of Pringle, a lot of SEC experience and a lot of success at Alabama before the transfer to South Carolina. Memphis, on the other hand, it's just a hodgepodge of players from the mid-major level, some from the high major level, not necessarily a whole lot of success with individual players in terms of what their teams did for certain prior to landing in Memphis. And so when I look at this, several things. Let's just go through this real quick. I mentioned no returnees from Memphis. That's kind of eye-popping, eye-opening. What you have is Aaron Bradshaw, transfer from Ohio State, previously at Kentucky, 2 years ago as a five-star freshman. So one of John Calipari's last freshmen while he was the head coach for the Wildcats, Big Blue Nation. So he's bounced around. He transferred in the offseason. He was never coming to Arkansas, and I think that was a mutual thing. But Bradshaw, 7'1" forward. If you look at his career average, 2 seasons, freshman year at Kentucky, last season at Ohio State, Bradshaw averaging 5.5 points and 3 rebounds at 7'1". That's been his production so far. Now, he's a junior. We'll see how much improvement he's made. Ashton Hardaway, who began his career playing for his dad at Memphis, then transferred to St. Mary's out in California. Now he's back at Memphis. I think both seasons in college basketball, after playing at Duncanville High School in Texas, the young man's averaging just over 2 points per game, career average. Doug McDaniel, a 5'11" guard that had some success at Michigan prior to the Dusty May era, and he, 16 plus points per game, I think a 37% three-point shooter 2 years ago at Michigan. Then he transferred to Kansas State last year, where his numbers went way down. Barely a 25% three-point shooter, averaging just over 11 points per game. So we'll see what Doug McDaniel has in the tank. Really a veteran guy, kind of a journeyman, makes me think of a guy like Nigel Pack, who landed in the SEC. I believe now he's at Oklahoma. Arkansas's played him a couple of times in the past. First time you'll match up against Doug McDaniel, but there are some similarities in terms of him and Pack, in terms of a guy that can go get a bucket. Sincere Parker, another transfer, another guard. Just going down the list here, Julius Tedford, another guard out of Western Kentucky. He's a Memphis native, now transferred in. Simeon Mayock, M-A-J-O-K, a 7'1", another frontliner, 7'1". We mentioned Aaron Bradshaw. This is a freshman. Thero Silla, 6'11" big, another transfer. Curtis Givens, the third, that was a guard at LSU last year, not a big productive guy. He's transferred in. Hassan Abdul Hakim has transferred in. Quante Berry, a 6'4" guard. I mean, you just go down the list. It's just mostly transfers. Zach Davis, another one. So there's a lot of names I threw out there. Some of these guys were double-figure scores in their previous stops. Most of them, again, are coming in from the mid-major levels, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. You see all the time players that step up to the high major and fit right in. I mean, last year, just throwing one example out of the state of Tennessee, the Tennessee Volunteers, Chaz Lanier, coming from that mid-major level and just tearing up the SEC. I don't know that I see that kind of quality here. It doesn't mean there's not three or four guys that will be good for this team and help them put up a good performance against Arkansas. I went through all this, kind of sounded negative and Debbie Downer about this Memphis squad. But remember, we're comparing it to last year. Now, the American Athletic Conference is a really good mid-major, but it's still a mid-major league. Memphis was really good. This year, I just don't see how they're going to be as good. And I don't see an NCAA tournament team when I look at this. And I'm not sure I see an NIT team or a team even. I mean, I do think it'll be a team that has a winning record, but, you know, for what it's worth, this is an Arkansas team that comes in on a mission. I think even 14th preseason, Arkansas might be a little underrated. And, I think this is a game with the veterans, the retention, and then what we saw from the true freshmen on Friday night. Now, everybody's out of their comfort zone for the first time. You went from playing each other to having a home game where you were superior in the matchup at both ends, offense, defense. And now you want that to translate, even though it's a true road game. You're going to have some adversity. You've not shot on these rims before. Of course, Arkansas's in for shoot around. They were in on Sunday, going through a practice shoot around, whatever they did. But you know what I mean. They're not used to playing in this environment. And the crowd. There'll be Arkansas fans there. Memphis is easy to get to, but there'll be plenty of Memphis fans as well. So this will be an interesting matchup in terms of how Arkansas responds to, again, being on the road. I think it's good to have a true road game against a opponent of this quality, not necessarily the quality of this particular roster, but a proud program and one that's had success under Hardaway. And so it's not like you're playing against a faltering program that's pretty pathetic year in and year out. We'll see just where this team can go under Hardaway, but I think there's a lot more questions than what they were able to answer even through the transfer portal trying to build this thing. Since you didn't have any retention with older veteran guys, the hope is that they don't have a lot of drop off. I think they're going to have a ton. Doesn't mean they won't get things put together on one night. They're going to be motivated playing a ranked team. And this is a regional matchup that Hardaway would like to rekindle. Arkansas and Memphis have a pass and a rich pass. A pass in some of those games that he played in and had success, and he also tasted loss against the Razorbacks. So this is interesting. It's interesting for me to be in the building. I covered as a journalist and did the recruiting coverage on the Arkansas Razorbacks for the now defunct Arkansas Gazette. There were two statewide daily newspapers back then, the Democrat, the Gazette. I was with the Gazette covering recruiting, and I was, dialed in on the Arkansas recruitment of Penny Hardaway, arguably the number one player in his class coming out of high school back in the late 80s, early, it might have been, I'm trying to remember now exactly what year it was, 89, maybe 90. But he picked the hometown Memphis Tigers. Arkansas, I think, was first runner up there, which is the same as being in last place when you don't win a recruiting battle like that. So it'll be cool to get back in there into Memphis and be in the same building as Penny Hardaway. We know what his career was like, not only in college, but the NBA. So he's a household name in his own right. We know John Calipari is. So a lot of interesting stuff here because of Calipari's past coaching the program, Penny Hardaway's connection to the city, growing up there. Again, a star at the high school level, one of the best in the country, and continue to be a great player into his NBA career. And then some of the other things for Arkansas, I think it's just a matter of now that you're in a true road environment and you have that kind of a challenge, how do you respond to that? I mean, if you go in there and play with poise like we saw on Friday night at home, and everybody's on the same page, everybody understands the assignment, things are connecting in the right way, then if you play with that kind of poise and confidence, then I think that leads to executing at both ends. And when you have a good execution and you have the team that has more talent, has more retention, and has other dynamics, I think, that make it superior to this Memphis team, then you should have a victory. Doesn't mean you're going to lead by 35 points like you did at home against Cincinnati. Doesn't mean you're going to end up in the end winning by 20-plus points. You won by 28. But Arkansas, after so many times last year, I mentioned it, building up double-digit leads, then only to see those vaporized late in games. for a myriad of reasons, and then you don't necessarily get over the finish line as the winner. And of course, that's how Arkansas' season ended, just like what I just described. Big lead and then bye bye. So this is another opportunity to show, hey, even though this game doesn't count, it counts for something. We're going to go prove a point that the better team's going to take care of business, even if it's on the road. So I think if you come in and play with poise and execute, Arkansas should be just fine. And then the next point here, that's my first key. And then it transitions right into what are Arkansas strengths? What's in the wheelhouse? Well, they showed it against Cincinnati, played to their strengths. They took 23s, yes, but the strength of this team is getting out in transition, running at every opportunity, and then imposing your will, getting to the basket, slash and cash game. And what I saw was almost a man, guards, wings, and bigs, getting from outside the paint into the paint, getting those paint touches, putting pressure on the defense, getting the defense out of sorts, and then picking and choosing. You go get your bucket. Do you drop it down to a teammate, coming from the blind side or opposite side behind the defense? You kick it out for a 3-point shot. Arkansas dialed up the right stuff on offense, and then defensively, Arkansas was hell to deal with. I mean, a Cincinnati team that shot really well on the road against Michigan. Arkansas held it to 28+%, less than 29% overall from the field. That counted for both halves, so it counted for the entire game as well, and held the team to 25% shooting from three in each half. So that was the final number there. Arkansas just disruptive, physical throughout the lineup, the athleticism, the length, the size. Now, Memphis has several players that have the size, and there's athleticism on this team. You got 2 players over 7 feet, 2 more that are 6'11". So I don't know who all's going to play in how many minutes. This is Memphis's first exhibition game. The Tigers play 2 ranked teams in exhibition season, 14th ranked Arkansas tonight, and then later in the week, I think Thursday, October 30th, Memphis is on the road to play 20th ranked Auburn. So this team has not played an opponent yet other than its own self. Same that Arkansas was in Friday night when it faced Cincinnati. But again, I think Arkansas, the goal here is if you play with poise and you execute on the road, that should lead right into playing into your strengths, getting into those wheelhouse strengths, get out in transition, and dominate the paint work on both ends. When you think dominate the paint work on both ends, a lot of times you're thinking, especially defensively, are you playing physically? Are you on the glass? Are you protecting the rim? Well, against Cincinnati, it was a little bit of a mix there. Arkansas had 6 blocks. That was really good, and that was a question mark coming into the season. Trevor Brazile had 3 of those. The other thing was, Arkansas did give up 15 offensive rebounds. You want to clean that up and be better here. This is an opportunity as part of this second key, or when we move into the third, is to talk about where Arkansas needs to improve. But part of that is establishing, if not dominance, at least some level of superiority in that paint at both ends. And I think that's in addition to the transition work, even secondary transition. You want to see Arkansas continue to play to its strengths, which is those things bubbled up as strengths, things we talked about in the preseason that we thought would be strengths. That's what you're keeping an eye on in this game. And again, the improvement parts. Where did Arkansas struggle, if you want to call it a struggle and a blowout win at that, 28 points against Cincinnati? Well, it was the rebounding, the offense, keeping the opponent off the offensive glass. Cincinnati attempted 71 field goals, or 74, I believe, in that game. And, they got 15 offensive rebounds. So you don't want to give up that kind of, second chance opportunity once again. And, it's a road game, but this is an opportunity to go in there and say, we're going to take some of that away this time. We're not going to be minus 10 in second chance points. We're not going to be minus 8 on the offensive glass. There were a lot of long rebounds for Cincinnati as well on that offensive glass. They shot 36 threes. Arkansas really did a good job of keeping them away from the basket. And that's, again, something you're looking for here. But so you want to see Arkansas as the third key improve on the glass work. And then the free throw line, Arkansas shot 25 free throws. That's good. You'll take that all day long against Cincinnati, 25 free throws. They only made 15. So they missed 10, 60%. You want to see improvement in the efficiency at the line, especially if this is a close or tight game. Free throw margins are going to matter. Arkansas won going away against Cincinnati in a big way, so it didn't matter. But it matters that you get used to stepping up there and taking care of the business at the free throw line. You can't be a 60% free throw shooting team or somewhere in the 60s this year and really expect to have the kind of season that helps you get to a final weekend and a final four. You're going to have to do much better. So you're looking for Arkansas to improve in this opportunity later tonight. All right, that is my preview show. Look, we did a lot of recruiting talk. Baba Aladdin in my most recent episode prior to this one that I did on Sunday. Baba Aladat in the 5-star class of 2026, his official visit. I had a follow up with his dad. I went through all the talking points. I quoted the dad, talked about a decision timeline, potential other visits. Everything you need to know was in Sunday's segment. Go check it out. I also talked about the unofficial visitor, 2027 5-star guard, Davion Thompson. So I talked about and quoted him in the same show. And then I did the latter part of the show were my stock risers, where I went through and really drilled down on what Arkansas did well against Cincinnati. We kind of touched on it a little bit here. It was more in depth with more specific stats, those kinds of things. So go check out Sunday's show if you haven't seen it already. It's got a lot in there. And I know you want those recruiting updates as we really push toward now this fast approaching early signing period, November 12th to the 19th. Whatever you don't get done in that, and we know Arkansas and Calipari have already got 2 high caliber wings committed who are going to sign early. Whatever you don't get finished early, you got to wait months until the spring period, which is in April. So there's, Arkansas is probably going to be hanging out to the spring for some, but you'd like to get more done. So anyway, check that episode out. Again, as a reminder, tonight I will have a live on location FedEx Mormon in Memphis. It's a late start. It may be pushing midnight. Hopefully we're on sooner than that, but I'm going to have a follow-up show basically a reaction live and really deep dive into what played out in that game. So until later tonight, much later, hope you enjoyed the pregame show and the analysis. Until next time, a few hours away, and we'll see you then. Take care of yourselves. Be great in all your endeavors today. We'll see you soon.